Hello and welcome back. I'm Baron Battlebred, your guide through the streets and whispers of Regate. You can gather round, you lost folk, as we spiral back into the Timebreakers, trying to rewrite history and change their fates.
Timebreakers!
Where we last left off, Sarah had rejoined the team on their investigation of the castle. They evaded the guards by jumping out of the window and looking for the prince. While half the team, Shimmer, Thaddeus, and Sarah, went back to Thaddeus' house to handle things, Elise was in the bay, searching for the body. Their familiar found an arm, a hand covered in jewels, and Elise had just broken the surface back on the ship, making their way out of the water.
Elise has also grabbed all of the rings off that hand and pocketed them before breaking the tension of the water.
Just on the way up, you've slowly been pulling the rings off, or quickly been pulling the rings off, I guess.
With the mage hand, just each finger.
Just 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, you've got a pocket full of rings, very expensive rings. So Elise, you break the surface of the water. You throw the arm in the rowboat that was lowered, and you climb in. Or do you climb up the ladder directly? How do you handle that?
So Elise is, breaking through the water. She sees, I think, a rowboat was off to the side, and the ladder. And she's gonna climb immediately onto the boat because it's right there.
Okay. You climb on the boat. Your hair's all wet. You're pushing it out of your face. You're situating yourself as the small boat rocks next to the large one. And as you do, the surface of the water breaks next to you as a seal head comes rapidly out of the water. In fact, it jumps out of the water next to you in an arc ready to land in the boat.
Yep. You gonna do anything about that?
About the seal jumping in?
Yeah, she's not gonna land on you. It's fine. When she lands in the boat, she the seal turns into a half-elven woman. She is wet in like a sailor-looking blouse and pink hair, which is wet. Would she be wet? Since the only time she was in the water was in animal shape, wild shape.
Technically speaking, no. If she was using a druid power, wild shape, she would not be wet coming out of her form.
So she, despite just jumping out of the water, there is a perfectly dry half elf standing next to you. She immediately sort of grabs the rope ladder and looks down, and then turns to you, Elise, and says, There's something in the cave. I saw something in there. I couldn't see exactly what it was. It seems to go somewhere. There was something following me, but I think it's the only thing in there. And then she's going to reach into her pocket and pull out this beautiful stone and shove it into Elise's hand. Once it breaks the surface and we start fighting it and distracting it, go back, check out what it is, and then she's gonna climb the rope ladder.
As she says, once it breaks the surface, your tiny rowboat is going to rock violently as the water around you roils. 4 large tentacles just burst out of the water on the edge of the ship as this person starts climbing the rope ladder.
Shouting up at the others, yelling for cannons and stations, and those orders are being repeated by a more masculine voice and much more authoritative tone.
As she makes it to the top of this rope ladder, several heads have peeked out over the edge to get a better view of what's going on, and you watch as a large tentacle sweeps across the edge of the ship and flings them off into the water.
There is very much cursing, what part? And what part of To Your Stations did you not listen to? And then stomping down
At least you're currently in a rowboat, while very large tentacles are slamming into a ship above you. What would you like to do?
So, the boat's shifting. She's trying to regain her footing, holding onto the edge of the rowboat, watching this immense beast climbing up, or tentacles large enough to sweep over to the top of the deck. It's probably best I leave to the ship itself. I don't think I'm going to help too much. And I do have a cave that needs explored. Don't have much time for questions? I'll dive right in.
At least you dive in the water. And as you do, you are met with the sight of the creature. Most of the body still underwater. A massive, eyeless, tentacled being. Kind of a pale blue. You can see the mouth of the creature as it curves around is just massive, filled with nothing but sharp teeth. It is not currently paying attention to you, but as you swim away and down past it to look for this cave, you hear a voice in your head, as does everyone on the ships, that says, "You should come down and play. I'm sure you'll enjoy it here under the waves."
There's cannon fire.
There's cannon fire above you. And you watch as the tentacles sweep through the water, and the splash of the edge as several more sailors are knocked off the boat. But you continue down, Elise, down past the voice no longer sweetly in your head. And it takes a minute, but you do find a large cave.
Into the cave she swims.
You go swimming into this cave. Do you have dark vision by chance?
She does not, but she has a moon-touched rapier.
Do you draw your weapon then, in order to gain the meager light source?
Yes.
You pull out your rapier to gain its light source. That is 20 feet, I believe, of light.
I think it's less, actually.
Is it not 10 bright, 10 dim?
It's bright light to 15. I thought you were talking about the bright light section. Bright light to 15, dim light for an additional 15, so 30 total, if that's what you're going for.
No, not in this particular instance. What you'll find is as you pull out your rapier, you've only got about 15 feet of dim light. The water around you is incredibly murky. But you were told that there was something in here worth seeing, and so you go to investigate. Go ahead and roll me your investigation check.
23.
23. You search around on the floor of this cave, slowly making your way in. And as you do, one of the first things that you run into is a foot. Or most of a foot. Like a foot in a high boot. A high-heeled boot. A very fine high-heeled boot.
Must be nobility of some sort.
This was, at one point, a very expensive boot.
Possible it's the prince. Possible it's another noble. But in any case, we're certainly on the right track.
Do you continue making your way into the cave?
Yeah.
Okay. As you swim further and further in, you come across a second boot of similar making quality. And as you swim further into the cave, you come across far less of an arm this time, mostly just hand, but also filled with a large variety of rings.
Now these, I can find a way to sell these later. Might as well pocket a few. She'll mage hand the rings off of the hands. But this can't be all that's here.
You continue making your way forward, looking for any more indicators. The next thing that you come across is another foot. This one in a heavy boot. It's not a prince's foot, maybe a sailor's.
Yes, this creature. Depending on how long it's been here, I'm sure I'll find many more bodies.
As you are doing this, you feel a massive vibration through the water. Looking up, or looking back, I should say, you can see that the murky water around you has rippled as if something very large had just crashed into the surface. Would you like to continue forward?
What do you mean by something very large collides with the surface? Like
a
on the-
shockwave. A shockwave of some sort has just rippled through the water around you. You feel it in your person, but you are underwater, so I assume you don't hear it. Can you hear it underwater?
I mean, you can hear some stuff underwater. It's a different sound, but yeah. So,
would you hear the sound of several large tentacles smacking into the surface at the same time?
I think that entirely depends on size. But
they're pretty big.
And distance.
Yeah.
A couple 100 feet. I don't know. I've never been that far underwater.
I feel like by that distance, you wouldn't actually be able to see or sense anything of, even with how big that is.
You don't think the ripple would extend down that far?
I don't think so.
Huh? At least you feel nothing as nothing happens around you.
Nothing happens.
You continue making your way forward. As you go, you find more and more pieces of bodies. Mostly arms and legs. You find more feet in boots. As you continue forward, several of these boots have daggers in them.
He'll look at one of the daggers, inspecting it.
As you
something worth looking at.
As you pull it out, these are daggers that are, these were crafted. These are not very expensive daggers. The handles are ornate, with little white skulls on them, on the hilt or the pommel. The pommel. I think it's called. And the blades themselves are not as straight as they could be. They're kind of wavy, less that you would expect to store in a scabbard. No wonder these were held in a boot. But something about them seems a little off. Go ahead and roll me a religion check.
21.
21. That is pretty good. That is very good. You recognize the symbol on this pommel, this skull, and the purple band that you can now see that wraps around it. This is the symbol of Sirik. There were cultists down here, or at the very least, the creature consumed a cultist.
Curiouser and curiouser. No doubt this creature has some sort of ties to the cult of Sirik. Otherwise, we may have seen it much, much sooner than just before the ritual.
As you continue your investigation down here, there's a ship that's being attacked.
Yes, there is.
Indeed.
Tentacles are lashing out of the water, bashing into the side of this ship.
The side of the ship has now been covered in thorns, so every time it hits the side and goes to do like a sweep across, it will be taking thorn damage.
Ooh. Would these be mechanical metal thorns or like a druid thorn spell?
Druid thorn.
Oh, hell yeah. That is a spell, isn't it?
Yep, spike growth.
I've never thought about using it on the side of a ship. That is impressive. You have spiked growth to this ship, and every time the creature's tentacle swings along it, you watch as it gets slashed and cut and stabbed. And the tentacles they have slowly stopped slashing against the side of the ship so much, and instead are coming to slam straight down on it.
There are several people who will move out of the way and then slam down with weapons. Allison has 2 swords and fighting. Also, there's like this glowing beam of light as well that just moves to wherever the tentacle keeps appearing, like where it likes to be to hit most often. Moonbeam.
Gotcha. Everyone is doing their best to dodge it.
Yeah.
But up on the deck of the ship, you watch as some sailors were unfortunately not quick enough, or perhaps they dodged the wrong direction, as they are grabbed and tossed off the side as the voice ringing through your ears says again, "You should just come in the water. Come play with me. You know you want to." And then more tentacles slam down on the side of the ship.
There's also just this random it looks like a scythe just flying around, like a giant scythe flying around, spiritual weapon,
Nice.
and attacking the tentacles.
All right.
And over the water, well, actually, no, Lindsay had casted Blight on it as well,
Ooh.
which drains moisture and vitality from it.
Oh,
as
no.
well.
Not the moisture and the vitality. That's not good.
In a sea monster.
That's not good. I would say that with the casting of Blight and coupled with the with a spinning scythe, in this instance, you manage to take out one of the 4 tentacles, essentially just severing it. Part of it lands on the deck, and the other 3 tentacles retreat into the water for a moment, like confused.
The blight shrivels it down so that it's able to be cut with the scythe.
Yeah.
I would like to have once the tentacles start coming back up, I would like Liam to use the tentacle to hit the other tentacles.
It's not a tentacle that comes up in this instance. A voice will scream in your mind. You did not need to do that. And an extremely long, finned tail is going to sweep over the top of the ship. It's going to crash against the mast, which will crack, but in this instance, it will not break. And it's going to do its best to shove as many people off the back of the ship as possible.
I feel like at this point, most of the crew would have tied themselves down.
Okay. I would say it snaps a couple of ropes, but most people were smart enough to get out of the way in this one. And then the tail retreats, and the tentacles come back up, searching for more people.
Liam is still gonna want to hit something with that tentacle that was cut off.
Okay. Tentacle re-tentacle. Got it.
Their cannons are also still going off, and also Talon has a gun.
Okay. We're going to jump back down to Elise. Elise, you are exploring the cave. These are cultist body parts that you have found. And the deeper you go, the older they're getting. Like, some of these had flesh on them still. Now you're getting to a point where you're finding bones, long, like, rotten remains, and less just hands and feet. Now you're finding full legs. You're finding a torso wearing a black cloak that you recognize. Roll me a perception check.
7.
You don't see it before you touch it. Like, your eyes may be locked on most of a corpse that was definitely not eaten. It was simply squished down here, and your hand bumps into something metallic and large. It's hard to see under the silt of this cave. Would you like to pull it up?
Yeah.
Okay, give me a strength check.
7.
You are not strong enough to lift whatever this is. At least not while swimming. You may have to brace your feet against the floor of this cave in an attempt to lift this.
Is your octopus still around, by the way?
Yeah. The octopus is still around. But yeah, she'll put both feet down. She'll brush off this large metal object and pull.
All right. Your feet sink a good 8 inches until they meet the solid stone of the cave floor. And you pull as hard as you can. Go ahead and give me a strength check with advantage.
18.
What comes flying out of the silt is part of a massive chain, like almost like you would see on a ship's anchor, and you can see that it extends in 2 directions. Which way would you like to follow, left or right?
Which way am I already heading?
You would be heading, the chain would be moving left in this instance.
She'll continue in that direction.
All right. You keep following this chain, and in doing so, you see that it starts to move upwards towards the top of the cave. And you follow it, and you're still following it, and suddenly your head breaks the surface. You're in a large air bubble, and you can see that there is a stone floor of what is probably more cave just a little bit beyond you. the chain having been dragged up onto it. And from your current position, you can see that it has been anchored into the stone, probably by a mold earth spell would be your best guess.
I wonder if they tried to leash that creature. Elise is going to look around and see what else is going on in this now air-filled cave.
Okay. Give me a perception or investigation check.
20 investigation.
Nice. As you come out of the murky water, your moonlit rapier does a much better job of illuminating things now. And this cave is honestly grotesque. You can see a massive obsidian altar in the middle of it, etched with the skullless jaw and the sunburst symbol that you recognize as Sirik's. You can see that there are murals on the walls depicting scenes of madness and strife, suffering. And you can see that along the back, there are multiple alcoves that have been carved into the area with several, homages to him, to Sirik himself. You can see the remains of individuals who have been trapped in these alcoves, likely tortured, but long since dead.
All the bodies are old, ancient. Well, not necessarily ancient, but they've been here for a while. And looking around, it doesn't look like this room has been used recently by anything other than the creature.
Yes. There's a good layer of dust on the things around here. You can see crates, which probably held supplies. You can see several tables, some bookshelves, some chairs, the stubs of candles on many things. And you can see several tunnels that lead off from the back of the cave further into whatever the cave system this connects to.
Elise will talk into the stone. I don't know if you can respond just yet, but it seems we have found an altar of Sirik. I'm going to continue on. She'll put that away. If there is a response, she can get a response. But in this moment, she is going to equip her silvered fang mask and the quick change robes to create the persona of the silvered fang.
You do get a response of, keep me updated, kind of busy at the moment. It is Lindsay's voice.
Understood.
A completely separate voice comes through the stone for Lindsay.
She's just gonna roll her eyes. She is not paying attention to what voice is coming through. She is busy facing a sea monster.
Yeah, the mask itself changes her voice.
Yep.
Would it do it telepathically? Or through sending?
Yeah,
the sending stone, you do have to talk into it.
Okay.
That's how I always thought sending stones work.
But she knows that that's Allison's sending stone, which she knows Allison gave it to Elise. So, and given the situation, obviously that's still Elise.
Okay. As that happens, Lindsay has spoken back into the sending stone as Elise is getting prepared to turn into the Silver Fang. The creature has slammed its tentacles into the deck again, taking more damage. Another tentacle has been lost to the cannons.
There are metal spikes as well as the spike growth, and there are some, just metal bits around that aren't being currently used to hold people down and shit.
Mm-hmm.
That it would be slamming into, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Talon's casting heat metal on those.
Oh, nice. As the creature takes the heat metal damage, suddenly the voice in your head changes. It's still sickly sweet, but you hear, what is Lindsay's greatest desire?
She wants to be with her friends, and she wants to live a life with them. Which is, she doesn't care what kind of life, she just wants to live a life with her friends.
Okay. Then what Lindsay hears is if you join me in the water, you can spend the rest of your life with your friends.
Yeah, she's gonna she's gonna respond back with, yeah, if I go in the water, then it will be a very short life. Well, if I stay on the ship, it will be a very long life. So nah, I like the longer life.
As you do your best to respond to this, you see, Lindsay would see around her that it seems everyone is also being spoken to at the same time. And you see several sailors drop their weapons, consider what was being offered to them, and jump over the edge. Like, maybe 7 of them have cut their lines and have leapt into the water willingly.
Liam's gonna yell orders at them to get back here.
They are not listening. They are diving deeper and deeper until they are out of sight.
Well, now Liam's frustrated, because, like, the fuck? How dare you?
Silver Fang, you are now standing in a cave, surrounded by what is probably one of the most disturbing scenes that you think you've been in a while. And you've been in massacres, at least investigatively. I hate that word.
Do any of the tunnels ahead have a light source?
They do not. You have 2 tunnels ahead of you that look like they lead somewhere, and one that you can see a cave in just on the other side of your light source. So you have 2 openings to choose from.
Yeah, so she'll try one of the 2 openings.
All right, which one would you like to go down?
Either.
Left or right?
Let's go left.
Excellent. You head down the left opening. Are you being stealthy? Are you searching for things? How do you want to go down a tunnel?
It'll be stealthy with like a caveat of she needs the rapier to be able to see. So like if she hears something, if she sees something, she has the blade ready to be sheathed.
Got it. So while you're doing that, why don't you go ahead and roll me a survival check?
Survival at 16.
Not bad. As you move down the cave, you notice that based on the direction of where you were, based on the direction you moved going into the cave, and based on the direction that this particular cave tunnel turns, if you continue moving down this tunnel, you are moving far from the city.
You will head for the other tunnel. It's good to know that, but she doesn't want to move away from the city. So
this might be a tunnel to explore later.
Yeah. She'll turn for hopefully one that takes her deeper into the city.
Okay. As you turn around and you start making your way back down, your rapier is still out, and the light source glints off of something, a metal band in the wall. It was bent away from you previously. It seems to be Oh, yeah. Go ahead. It seems to be an inscription in Thieves' Cant. And on the other side of it, while most of it has worn away, you can see a small map has been etched into it. And it shows you that the tunnel that you're going down leads to a large storeroom. The tunnel that has collapsed seems to lead to a sleeping quarters for multiple people. And the other tunnel leads even further into a more extensive cave system, or a more extensive system of connecting tunnels. But at least it turns in the right direction, by your estimate.
He's going to minor illusion like a copy of the map, kind of like memorizing it, so to speak, and creating like this illusory duplicates of the map that she can effectively pull up whenever as she's following, you know?
Yes.
With even a glowing red dot that shows where she believes herself to be in this map.
I can accept that. Yes. Just a little "you are here" marker.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have a mini map now.
I have a mini map.
You have a mini map in this cave system. Okay. You go down the other tunnel, and you can sense from the map that you have created, you can see a path that will take you closer and closer to the city, following a main route. There are several branches on it, and as you make your way down this tunnel, it probably takes you. You're probably walking for almost 45 minutes based on how far your dot moves as you walk down this, coming across the landmarks of the various branching tunnels.
I do think before we reach the 45-minute mark, long before, she'll use the sending stone to give another update.
Mm-hmm.
I found a map. I'm heading further in.
You don't get a response this time. Again, busy.
But then, yeah, she continues on for that 45-minute trek.
Okay. Using the landmarks of the branching tunnels beside you, you make your way further, and you can feel that there is an incline as you make your way closer and closer to the surface following this path. Do you stop and look through any of the side tunnels?
Probably each of them. Just a quick glance.
Okay. You see, several, as you make your way through, most of these tunnels are various storage points. You find non-perishable goods like some lamps. You find some rusty weapons. You find one filled with moth-ridden blankets. Each of these ones marked with a symbol of Sirik on the back wall, either painted or carved. And the closer you move down the tunnel, the less rough stone area. You move from raw rock to what was likely carved out either by hand or by magic stoneworks. And the closer you get to what you believe to what is considered the end of your map, the carved stonework suddenly becomes laid brickwork.
Interesting.
As you step out maybe 2 or 3 minutes from what you would expect the end of your map to be, you step out of what is effectively a hole in a wall into a larger brick-laid into a larger brick-laid tunnel network. By your best estimate, you're under the city, probably in the sewer systems.
In her own mind, she's thinking,
this is where they're supposed to be communing, in the sewer systems. Whenever I hear back from Lindsay, we'll be able to coordinate better. We'll track down the leaders of Sirik from 2 separate directions even.
As you've been making this walk, the ship is still fighting a tentacle creature.
Just because they're thrown overboard doesn't mean they die immediately, right? So I'd like to say that the pirates have been climbing back on the ship. There is ladders on both sides, and some of them are actually in the water stabbing the thing with their weapons, which is a very stupid thing to do, but they're doing it anyway.
Okay.
There's also there's a pack of sharks, or whatever you would call a group of sharks. Suddenly, they have arrived at this point, or appeared, I should say.
Oh yeah, they would, because most of the people thrown in the water haven't died. Some of them have.
Well, actually, this was conjured animals. Animals.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah, the sharks are helping bring some of the pirates back to the ship, and some of them are attacking the tentacle monster.
Got it.
Meanwhile, Liam has, I think one of his abilities has, monk abilities lets him basically cast inflict wounds with his attacks. I didn't really understand what that was.
Like the Hand of Harm?
Yeah, Hand of Harm.
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
So he is, ever since the Seven jumped off of the ship for no reason, he's been basically using that constantly.
Okay.
And Lindsay, Talon is also still using heat metal and his gun, but he's also using Scorching Ray. Allison is whenever a tentacle lands on the ship, Allison also is casting Entangle on it to try and keep it on the ship for a little longer so they can get a few more hits on it. And Lindsay is, when she can touch the tentacles, she's casting Vampiric Vampiric touch, and when it's not in range, he's casting Ray of Sickness and things like that, and Contagion.
Gotcha.
Oh wait, Contagion is touch. But things like that on the tentacle monster. Most of Liam's stuff is close range, other than commanding his crew. But they do, of course, the cannons are still going off. The spike growth is still there. Moonbeam and spiritual weapon are still going off.
Okay, roll me a perception check for Lindsay.
Dirty 20.
Excellent. So, as this whole fight is going on, you've had people who've been struck by the tentacles, thrown off the ship, climbed back on. Several have been jumped off on their own. Several more are, a handful of them are still in the water itself. But out of nowhere, a sudden handful of the crew, like their skin suddenly turns slimy, almost see-through, and like they flinch, like they're taking damage, but they continue attacking.
Lindsay's gonna pull out a couple corpses and cast Animate Dead on them.
Okay.
Get a few more fighters in there.
Okay. During the course of this battle, Elise has been walking for about 40 minutes, and I would say about 30 total of your crew have been struck by tentacles in some form or another. Mm-hmm. Over the course of this 40 minutes, all 30 of the ones who have been struck, who have climbed back onto the ship, their skin has gone translucent. They're slimy, and they're hurting, and they don't know why. Those who are still in the water, they look fine. But anyone who's climbed back on the ship after being thrown off, in great pain. Actually,
but instead of creating her own undead...
oh yeah, some of them have dropped dead at this point.
As a Death Domain cleric, does that help her at all tell, are they sort of turning into sort of undead, or are they just dying?
They are just dying. It seems to be an effect of the creature that is striking them. Maybe a poison, maybe a failed attempt to mutate them telepathically, psychically. I guess you can't mutate someone telepathically. Psychically.
She's gonna curse and call out to Liam and Allison the situation, because she can't heal, but they can. So, can't really do anything, though. She's going to actually use one of her channel divinities to do Touch of Death next time a tentacle comes, and...
Awesome. I will say that at the end of this 45 minutes, it's around this time that you start noticing this happening around you, extensively happening around you. You use your Touch of Death. You shrivel, I should say, another tentacle. There's only one tentacle left, and so I'm going to make a roll here to see if the creature is going to stay or if it's intelligent enough to flee. This creature is really upset that you damaged all 3 of its tentacles, and it is going to continue fighting, which is really not good because it only takes one more cannon shot to take out the last tentacle, and you now have a large, really ugly fish corpse just floating on the surface.
At which point, Allison and Liam and any other healers, which there would be other ones among the crew, would immediately start tending to the injured crew, and Lindsay will start collecting the dead with the help of others. And the rest of the crew who are still alive and in the water will come back on the ship.
Gotcha.
And also at this point, she would message Sending Stone to Elise / Silverfang that, okay, the thing's dead. The thing is dead.
Silverfang, you have received communication. Finally. The creature has died.
That is good news. I am currently deep under the city and have found a branching network of tunnels carved by brick.
Might I ask why your voice changed suddenly? I didn't get to ask earlier.
This mask that I wear is to obfuscate my identity. It alters the sound of my voice.
Good to always have one of those on hand.
Agreed.
What's the plan?
If we get the others into the sewers, we can meet up underground we can systematically approach this tunnel and investigate all of the Siricist activity.
Speaking of the Siricist activity, Silverfang, as you're talking, roll me a perception check.
13.
That is good enough because they are not being quiet. You hear voices echoing down the tunnel. It's hard to make out what they're saying, but suddenly it rings out in laughter, and you can hear the stomping of boots on stone, the jingling of coins in pouches, and just a group of individuals just having a good old time walking through the sewers. What would you like to do?
Elise will sheathe her blade and pay attention to where the sound is coming from. She'll also have her crossbow ready in case they have light and she needs to defend herself.
Looking around, you do see at the far end of the tunnel that you are currently in, and coming towards you, is a lantern light.
Didn't Elise come through a hole in the wall? Couldn't she duck back into that?
She did come through a hole in the wall. She is technically at what would be considered a T-junction.
Yeah, whatever would make her the most covered is where she's going to head. Whether if that's back into the hole in the wall or if that's under some nearby structure.
All right. You put your blade away, so go ahead and roll me stealth as the light gets closer.
26.
You pull out your crossbow, and you have it at the ready, and you step back into the tunnel where you were, your cloak and mask obscuring yourself despite it being silver. Without the light as it is, you just fade into the shadow with no light source in the tunnel, and you wait. And that is where we're going to end the session today.
Cliffhanger.
I'll fight you all. But that's all for now, and when we return next episode, I'm sure that the Timebreakers will continue to impress us. Timebreakers. You can come join the Discord, links is in the description, and help us build the city from the inside. You can leave a rating, leave a review, and tell us how you really feel. Thanks for listening.